The smartest person in the room goes home alone, not because they had nothing to say, because they said it in a language the room wasn't ready for. You have felt this. The moment when you saw the answer, clearly, completely, and watched someone slower receive the credit. The moment your idea was dismissed, then celebrated 3 months later under someone else's name. This is not bitterness. Bitterness would be easier. This is something quieter and older. In January 1913, Srinivasa Ramanujan sent a letter from a small office in Madras to G.H. Hardy at Cambridge. He was a clerk with no formal degree, filling pages with equations almost nobody around him could understand. Most of them were dismissed as nonsense before they were read. He was right about nearly all of them. To the wrong eyes, genius can look like noise. That is the wound, not stupidity, misreading. And few creatures on Earth understand misreading better than the crow. The crow has been on this planet for approximately 17 million years. It watched the megafauna fall. It watched empires rise and dissolve. It watched human beings invent tools it had already been using for centuries, and it never said a word about it. The crow has a brain-to-body ratio comparable to most great apes. It manufactures tools, it designs itself. It recognizes individual human faces. It holds memories across generations, teaching its offspring exactly which face to distrust. It plans for futures it cannot see. In experiments at Oxford, Cambridge, and the University of Auckland, crows have solved multi-step puzzles that require understanding cause and effect, not trial and error. Deliberate reasoning, architecture of thought, and it does all of this in silence. No paper published, no conference attended, no recognition sought. Because the crow has been solving problems that still confuse scientists, not because it got lucky, but because something inside it was equipped to think in ways the world around it cannot quite follow. What does the crow know about being brilliant in a world that isn't ready? Lesson 1. The crow does not explain itself. Watch a crow solve a problem. It does not perform. No display, no announcement, no pause to check if anyone noticed. It finds the solution. It moves on. At Oxford, researchers placed a crow named 007 in front of an 8-step sequential puzzle. Each step had to be completed in order to unlock the next. No demonstration was given. No other bird had attempted it in front of him. 007 solved it in under 2 minutes on his first try, then walked away. There was no celebration, no repetition for an audience. The problem was done. The crow was already somewhere else. You were taught the opposite. You were taught that the work is not finished until someone has witnessed it. That intelligence to count must be acknowledged, validated, liked, cited, promoted. But performance asks, did they notice me? Function asks, did it work? The crow does not need applause for solving the problem. It only needs the nut to open, the danger to pass, the route to stay clear, the pattern to repeat. Maybe your mind was never weak. Maybe it was quiet because it was working. What would change for you if you stopped solving problems at people and just solved them? Lesson 2. The crow remembers who betrayed it. At the University of Washington, researchers wore distinctive masks while trapping wild crows to ban them. Weeks later, those same masked faces walked back across campus, hands empty, posture neutral, doing nothing threatening at all. The crows mobbed them. They screamed warnings to the rest of the flock. The information spread. Offspring who had never seen the mask learned which face to avoid. One encounter, permanent encoding, transmitted across generations. Marcus Aurelius spent his years as emperor of Rome, surrounded by people who wanted something from him. Senators who shifted allegiance, generals who flattered, advisors who waited for weakness. He wrote alone in his private notebook, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." He was not saying forgive and forget. He was saying see clearly, carry nothing that poisons you. Let your memory serve your survival, not your suffering. The crow does exactly this. It remembers the threatening face. It files it. It encodes the warning, and then it keeps flying. It never mistakes memory for resentment. It never confuses recognition with obsession. You were taught that remembering was the same as being cruel, that holding the pattern in mind was bitterness. So you started erasing the data and walking back into the same trap, wearing a different smile. Not every wound is asking to be worshipped. Some wounds are asking to become data. Lesson 3. The crow plays. The crow has been documented sliding down snow-covered rooftops, repeatedly, for no survival benefit whatsoever. It climbs back up. It does it again. For years, biologists struggled to categorize this. It did not fit any adaptive framework. No food reward, no mate signal, no territory, nothing to gain. The crow slides down the roof because it is fun. You stopped doing this when the world told you that thinking had to look serious, that intelligence had to be productive, measurable, monetizable. The crow has a 17 million year head start on you. It never confused rigor with grimness. Lesson 4. The crow hides what it cannot afford to lose. A crow buries food. If another crow is watching, it waits, returns later, and hides the same food somewhere else. That is not paranoia. That is intelligence with witnesses. Some people do not deserve full access to your mind. That sentence may only feel harsh because you were trained to confuse openness with goodness. The crow does not reveal everything, because revelation has a cost. Food shown too easily becomes food stolen easily. A hiding place exposed too soon becomes a lesson given to a thief. You know this. You have shared an idea too early and watched someone mock it, copy it, weaken it, or poison it before it had roots. You have explained a dream to someone who only knew how to measure life by fear. You have opened your depth in front of people who treated it like arrogance. Privacy is not insecurity, it is incubation. Not everything sacred should be made available to every hungry mouth. What part of your intelligence died because you kept displaying it to people who only came to feed? Lesson 5. The crow knows when to be invisible. In several urban environments, crows have learned to read traffic lights. They place hard-shelled nuts in crosswalks. Cars drive over them and crack them open. When the light turns red and pedestrians begin to cross, the crow walks down quietly and collects the meat. It did not learn this from a teacher. It read the system. It found the gap. And it operates inside that gap, quietly, invisibly, using the entire human infrastructure as its private machine. The drivers in those cars believe they are commuting to work, driving the economy, ruling the city. The crow understands what they actually are. It did not need to own the car. It did not need to negotiate with the driver. It did not need anyone in that intersection to acknowledge its mind. The system worked. That was enough. The crow never announced its intelligence. Neither should you. Here is what is strange about the crow. It is measurably, scientifically, one of the most intelligent non-human animals on Earth. Peer-reviewed, replicated, published consensus. And yet, for most of human history, we called it a bad omen, a carrion bird, a sign of death. We chased it from crops. We built scarecrows to simulate our hostility, and we taught our children to fear it. We were afraid of something we did not understand. So we made it sinister. You have lived this. The moment your thinking outpaced what the room could hold, you were labeled difficult, cold, arrogant, intense, too much, not enough. The labels were never really about you. They were about the discomfort your presence created in people who were not ready. The crow never changed its behavior based on the scarecrow. It adapted its approach. It waited. It observed. It used the system. But the intelligence, the core, irreducible, designed intelligence that it never negotiated. The complexity of its eye. The deliberate calculations in its silence. The precise architecture of its survival. The tool it bends from a wire it never asked to find. None of this looks like the residue of an accident. It looks like a riddle written on purpose. Where there is design, there is a designer. And if there is a designer, then being dismissed was never the final verdict on you. It was just the opinion of someone who could not see what was already there. The crow knew this 17 million years before the first human opened its mouth to judge. Stop shouting into the void. Stop trying to prove to the blind that you can see. The next time someone underestimates you, do not argue, do not correct them, do not perform. Look at them the way a crow looks at a car from a telephone wire. They are not your judges. They are just the tools you have not used yet.